How utilities talk about serious water quality challenges like lead and PFAS contamination can make or break public trust. Turning complex data into clear and honest messaging isn't just good practice, it's essential for keeping the public informed and engaged. I sat down with strategic communications expert Rose Hanson to learn more about how transparency can really make a difference. Check it out. Why does transparency matter when you're talking with communities about water quality challenges?
Oh man, so transparency is basically the key to maintaining public trust as you have to talk about water quality. So a lot of the regulations on the books mean that water utilities have to address water quality topics like lead or PFAS in their drinking water. And that's not fun, right? You never want to have to say, we have this and this is what we're doing about it. By bringing the public along with you, the water systems can really actually have an opportunity to increase that public trust. An example of that would be if you are, testing for PFAS in your water and you're just starting out, your water system, you're just starting out to test for PFAS. And the public is interested, right? They've read some articles, maybe they've watched some movies, and they're like, okay, is this something we have to worry about in our drinking water? And you find some results, but you don't say anything. And then someone hears about the results down the line, or like the regulatory deadline comes and you have to publish them. And it comes out that you've known that you had PFAS in your water supply and you didn't tell anyone. People are going to be pretty mad because there was a health issue that could affect them that you knew about and didn't tell them, so they were not empowered to protect themselves. Now let's flip that scenario on its head. If you test for PFAS, you're going above and beyond, and you talk about it before the regulation makes you talk about it, you can explain you're being proactive. This is what you found. This is what it means. And maybe you don't know what it means. And that's okay because you've told them what you do know and what you're doing next to figure out next steps. And as part of that communication, you can empower people to take steps to protect themselves from PFAS, right? You can tell them, here's the things you can do right now if you're concerned about this.
At CDM Smith, we understand a thing or two about staying ahead of the curve. The world is facing environmental and infrastructure challenges with lasting implications, so we're building solutions with lasting results. We'll help you embrace what happens next because it's happening now. Learn more at cdmsmith.com/nextisnow. Okay, let's get back to it. You've experienced different levels of public understanding in lead and PFAS risks in your work, right? Are there different methods that you use to talk about each contaminant?
So lead is the easy one, in my opinion, because a lot of people know lead is bad. PFAS is more of a challenge because the science isn't there yet, right? We don't actually know what all of the health effects are of the 16,000 PFAS out in the world, right? That's a lot of information to gather. And so I try to use tools that explains what we do know in really simple graphical steps. One of my favorite tools is this step-by-step guide of ways people can protect themselves with graphics. So it's really simple. It's a few sentences per step, and it outlines those steps in an easy to understand and visual manner that someone could take it and literally check it off if they're worried about lead. PFAS is a little bit different because there isn't like clear cut, use this filter and you won't be exposed to PFAS. Like that doesn't really exist right now. It depends on what PFAS are in the water. It depends on, what PFAS have specific health effects. And as we've established, we don't actually know what PFAS have specific health effects for most of them. So I like to look at it at a more general scheme, and one of the tools that I use for PFAS risk communication is called the PFAS cycle. And this is something that our technical folks put together for a lot of our PFAS clients, and it shows how PFAS cycles through a community. So it might say, okay, here's the aquifer that it's in, here's how it gets into the water treatment plant, here's how it gets into people from the drinking water, but also here's how people are contributing to it by using PFAS products and then putting it in the landfill, or using nonstick pans and then eating the food, or, buying takeout containers and eating the food from the takeout containers. So it explains that PFAS is this huge, broad cycle and that water quality is one very small part of it. And that really helps people understand the feasibility of addressing the problem. First of all, how complicated it is. And second of all, that while we can address, say, PFAS in drinking water, there's still going to be other sources that they then have to make personal choices to address.
What's your golden rule for utilities that need to communicate about risks in their system?
Don't be afraid to tell the truth. I feel like when things are hard or when you don't know everything, like kind of a gut instinct is like, well, we're not going to say anything until we know more. Or we're going to say the least amount possible because this might change. And my kind of golden nugget of truth would be open about what you know and what you don't know and what might change.